Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the afternoon session. So, as you can see on the stage, that we have all the panelists ready to discuss about a very interesting topic on the experience, and so they are going to discuss about the experience and academic articles, particularly the effects of the war, technological disruption, and international politics, which affect the job promotion and employment of people with disabilities. And I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Jaturong Bunjaratsunthorn, Chair of the Doctoral Degree Program, Faculty of Social Work and Social Welfare, Mo Chiao Chalerm Phuket University, to moderate the discussion with the panelists, please.
Thank you very much, our MC. So, good afternoon, everyone. From in the conference room and as well as from the online. Today is the second day for presentation of the offer paper. So we have 7 papers to be presented, but we have 4 papers will be presented on site, and 3 will be presented online. So on the stage, so we are ready for the first paper to be presented. The second is ready. The third will be online from Vietnam. The fourth will be online from Thailand. The 5th will be on site from Thailand. The 6th paper will be online on site from Thailand as well. Oh no, sorry. The 6th paper will be online from Thailand, and the 7th will be on site from Thailand. So we have 2 papers from the Philippines, 1 paper from Vietnam, and 4 papers from Thailand. So first paper will be on the deaf and digital survey, life experiences of deaf job seekers during the new normal. That will be presented by Julia Marcilla. Julia, are you ready to present? Yes. I'm sorry, Jaila, not Julia, Jaila. Okay.
All right. Good day to all. My name is Jaila Guillermo. It's nice to meet all of you. Mabuhay. So I am from the De La Salle College of St. Benilde School of Deaf Education and Applied Studies. Benilde SDS has been the leading learner-centered deaf education institution in the Philippines for the last 3 decades. And we offer a bachelor's degree program for deaf and hard of hearing Filipinos. For the last 16 years, we've been offering job matching, career coaching, and pre-employment training services for our graduates. However, COVID-19 pandemic brought about many changes to these practices, and we had to adjust. So this paper presents the deaf Benildians, our college graduates, as co-creators of pandemic employment services. So they're not just beneficiaries, but they're also co-creators of job search strategies and employment services. All right. So during the pandemic, the deaf experienced additional barriers to employment. So these are the old barriers that they've been experiencing for the longest time. But to transition to the digital setting, since most available jobs are remote or online. So one example of such barriers is the additional adjustments to new technology. Of course, they would have to transition to an online work setup, and that entails learning the conventions of video conferencing platforms such as Zoom and Teams, not all of which are accessible. In addition to that, there are also additional English language proficiency requirements for remote work, since most available jobs are offered by BPOs or financial technology companies or companies requiring higher level of English language proficiency. Also, Filipino Sign Language is diminished on digital screens because there's a tendency for internet connection, and that would lead to freezing screens, disrupting the communication flow and diminishing the message of sign language. In addition to that, social distancing and distancing due to the digital context also adds to difficulties in social emotional well-being of deaf Filipinos. How did SDS adjust to such challenges? So we collaborated with several companies willing to hire deaf graduates, and one such company is PayPal. We offered employment services to them, and we placed some of our college graduates for hiring at PayPal. And we also offered English language training for our graduates who are interested to work in PayPal for customer service roles. Next slide, please. So this study, in this study, we interviewed 4 deaf college graduates aged 28 to 30 who are currently employed as customer service representatives at PayPal. For the research methods, we conducted semi-structured interviews on the lived experiences of these 4 deaf employees regarding their experience of finding jobs online during the pandemic. And the primary result of the data shows that as they look for careers online during the pandemic, they also discover and further develop their deaf identity. So the data shows 4 themes. 4 themes of deaf career development during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the first theme is facing additional employment barriers. For the deaf, it was quite difficult to do job search online because available job search platforms such as LinkedIn or JobStreet are quite difficult to navigate if you're not aware of how to utilize the filters to your advantage. In addition to that, some companies also automate their hiring processes online and would tend not to really look at the details of your resume, but just to look for specific search words, which may cause the applications of the candidates to be eliminated immediately. So they also struggled with rejection from the employers in a sense that they would be invited to attend online job interviews, and then upon finding out that they're deaf and they cannot communicate without a sign language interpreter, the employers would automatically reject them, and sometimes they've already paid for the services of the interpreters, so they would feel rather disappointed and frustrated because of these. Once they were placed at PayPal, they encountered struggles with work-specific vocabulary, email conventions, adjusting to American English, and particularly with empathy. It was difficult for them to determine the tone of their American clients, especially if they're using idioms or very context-specific language. So we did provide, the SDS did provide them English training to prepare them for this. However, we weren't able to really teach them specific jargon for work. So this leads us to the second theme, which is facing additional communication barriers. Although technology may bridge gaps, it may also divide people, and that happened with our deaf graduates. They struggled with communicating with people whom they cannot see face to face. We all know that sign language is a visual language, and sometimes it's also tactile, and it requires you to really see the person that you're talking to. That was a struggle for them socially. In addition to that, we also mentioned that the participants mentioned that it was difficult for them to work with sign language interpreters without meeting them personally, adjusting with them and assessing their signing skills. It was difficult to work with an interpreter during a job interview if you don't know how competent your interpreter is. Freezing screens due to limited internet connection also diminished the quality of the interpreting. In addition to that, the participants mentioned that it was easier for them to learn from their former deaf professors who taught them the basics of English at the SDS during their English training. However, the training sessions that the SDS offered lacked context-specific content. They learned that from PayPal, from the hearing instructors and experts at PayPal. However, they felt like there was no connection. So they felt distance with the hearing instructors because they were talking through a sign language interpreter who may not be as knowledgeable about the content of the training sessions. Third theme is adjusting to new technology. So, of course, the traditional methods of job search for the deaf was just applied to a digital context. So before the pandemic, we relied on referrals, testimonials, and we would usually gather together and discuss in length which the available job opportunities will be good for deaf people. But because of the pandemic, they couldn't meet in person, so they transitioned to an online setup. They would use Facebook Messenger or Facebook community groups or vlogs to discuss in detail which opportunities out there are good for the deaf. So the study shows that the participants are quite adept at using technological tools, and they're very knowledgeable when it comes to online training platforms such as Google Classroom, Google Suite, and Zoom. They also found online trainings more convenient as they are never late to these trainings as opposed to face-to-face trainings. Part of Filipino deaf culture is not being on time. So they were quite happy to do the trainings online. Apart from that, we appreciated the opportunity to study independently and to study on their own pace. The fourth theme is asserting one's deaf identity. So this is where we are able to recognize the need to engage in both deaf and hearing worlds. So the first phase of the online job search was just using JobStreet and LinkedIn, and then the next phase was consulting their deaf peers. This time, come third phase, they recognized the need to exhaust all possible means, consulting their deaf peers, consulting their former school, their hearing peers, and looking into all available options out there for them. So they also looked at our official communications, the official communications of the SDS regarding suitable job opportunities for them, and verified that with their deaf peers working in the same companies. So that was the process of job search, and that further helped them assert and develop their deaf identity as the flavor of deaf culture is still there, using technology and using official sources altogether. Now, as for my conclusion, okay, next slide, please. And recommendations. So for the recommendations, I mentioned the lack of job search strategy online, right? To address that, we can provide job search platform training sessions. So we can perhaps partner with all of these available online job search engines and ask them to work with us. to make sure that their platforms, their engines are inclusive to PWDs, not just to the deaf, and we can voice out our concerns to them. Second, in terms of the lack of opportunity to level up with sign language interpreters and the difficulty of the interpreting process online, we may review existing processes of interpreting in a remote setup and make sure that we always collaborate, not just with the deaf, but also with the interpreters and with all of the stakeholders. Third, in terms of the lack of affinity with hearing experts from the industry, the answer to that would always just be collaboration between everybody involved, whether it's the deaf trainers or the hearing professors in the academe. There must always be very good collaboration between industry and academe. In final, for future researchers, I would like to recommend similar studies on the fresh graduates, because the study is for deaf who are in the middle of their careers already. They're already in their 30s. So it would be good to conduct a similar study for deaf fresh graduates and a longitudinal research on the lived experiences of deaf employees from recruitment, probably to retention until retirement. Overall, I would like to reiterate that the deaf are very much empowered and can be very much involved in carving their own career paths and in designing their job search journey if only we consult them and we acknowledge their agency and capability to do well, not just as job seekers, but as employees and contributors to employment services. Thank you so much, Mabuhay.
Okay, thank you so much, Jaila. So I would like to invite the commentator, Dr. Chok Chai Sutthavet, the PhD in Industrial Sociology from Bielefeld University from Germany. He will feedback a little bit, one by one paper, and then at the end of the session, he would add something more. So would you please take your time for maybe 3 minutes?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Chaturong, that invited me to chair this conference and by doing comments to a number of papers. Even though Professor Chaturong did not know how much I know about disability, but he trusts me to come to this conference. And incidentally, I am now doing some work with the Ministry of Labor on disability as well. So I have some kind of I think it is very interesting one that the deep graduated student try to find out the job by not only sitting and waiting for the job to come to them, but they try to adapt themselves to the new normal situation under the COVID pandemic. And we learned from this case that the deep persons have to be trained for the new sign language for the deep that will be induced the company to hire them as the employee. And she also find that training from institutional college is not enough. So additional training is very important. And so in the last recommendation of her is very interesting. She would like to remind us that the educational institution, employment service providers must consult with their alumni, stakeholders to, to design training program. So that is mean before we produce the people into the industry as the normal people, the university or institution must be clear that we are producing the correct people, the skilled people with quality and number matching the demand of the company, so that discussion and consultation among these organization very important. But I would like to ask you two questions. Jaila, is your name correct, Jaila?
Yes, it's Jaila.
Or Jaila? Jaila. I wonder why you interviewed only the 4 deep persons. Why not you also interview the company that may hire these people? And that is the question 1. And the question 2 is that you said about the next future study should be longitudinal study. What do you mean for longitudinal study for this kind of case?
All right, thank you so much. The study is quite limited in terms of the number of participants. I agree, because I wanted to have a more in-depth analysis of their experience, and limiting the number of participants would allow me to really dig deeper, ask more questions, and probe when it comes to their lived experiences while they were looking for jobs online. So hence I limited the number of participants. But you are correct, perhaps for future studies, we can also interview representatives from the companies, specifically from the companies that hired our deaf graduates and provided training for them. This way, we can triangulate the study and verify with all of the parties involved. So point well taken. We can do that perhaps in future studies. As for the longitudinal research that I am suggesting, I would like to recommend future researchers to look into not just the recruitment or the hiring process, but also to see what possible online trainings, or since we're working with technology here, the focus of this particular conference is how technology helps PWDs advance their career during pandemic. I would like to look into how technology is being used, not just for recruitment, but also for the retention, training, upskilling of deaf employees, and perhaps how technology plays a role in the remote work experience of a deaf employee when hiring until retirement, if that's possible, maybe in the future, to really look at the longitudinal, the experience of an employee, just so we get to understand their needs and we see the gaps from start to end of somebody's career.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have to move on the second paper, because today we have to be very I have to be very strict on the the time management. Each one is given for only 10 minutes, because after our presentation there will be a closing ceremony. Okay, so the second paper will be presented by Patricia. The title is very interesting: the pandemic's impact on deaf hiring. Okay, Patricia, please, your turn.
Thank you so much. So, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Good afternoon to everyone. And thank you to my colleague Jaila for her presentation. So, I will now start mine. So, during the pandemic, much like several other countries in the in Asia, as well as the whole world, it brought upon several changes, difficulties, but as well as opportunities. And that's something that I could actually vouch for through this presentation. So, my paper has four main purposes. The first one is we'll look into the industry employment shift in the Philippines with our deaf graduates from BNIL. And then we'll also look into the qualities of IT BPO industries that enable them to stay afloat and even grow during the pandemic, as well as their qualities that attracts many of our deaf graduates. And finally, we'll look into the attributes of our deaf graduates that made them eligible as well as desired by our IT BPO companies. Okay, next. All right, so in order to implement this, in order to gather data, we did three forms of analysis. First, we did a comparative analysis between two graduate tracer studies we did in the year 2019 and 2022. So the comparison is pre-pandemic and during pandemic. And then we also did a secondary data analysis to derive conclusions on the development of IT BPO companies in the Philippines, as well as an anecdotal analysis where we looked into the records of our industry consultations with most of our partner employers, as well as the career coaching sessions that we had with our deaf graduates. So let's look into the data that we gathered for that. Okay. So for our 2019 graduate tracer study, this is what we got. So as you can see, we have 29.8% of our deaf graduates that were employed in the general and service industry, while we have 15.3% that were employed in the BPO and shared services industry. We also included one of the other big industries that our deaf graduates are actually interested in, such as the visual media arts industry, the academe. And for this year, we also had an unemployment rate of 13.4%. So these are quite big numbers if you see it, if you look at this. However, when we look into the 2022 graduate research study, there's actually a huge change. For the general and services industry, it started for almost 30% and went down to 11%. Whereas for the BPO shared service industry, it started around 15% and went up to 24.3%. However, of course, the pandemic brought upon the higher unemployment rate, which is 40.3%. And of course, there's also some minimal changes with our visual media arts and academe industry, as well as the freelance and small businesses. So let's discuss why and how these changes actually occurred. So first of all, in the year 2020, our government actually mandated, or they actually considered BPOs to be essential. So because of the fact that we can't do face-to-face work, BPOs were very much adaptable to have a work from home setup. And in the same year, we actually had an additional 23,000 Filipinos who were hired in this industry, which gave us a total of 1.32 million Filipinos employed in the IT BPO industry in the Philippines. And there's actually also a forecast that in the next 2 years, we'll have 1.46 million Filipinos to be employed in the IT BPO industry. And of course, we actually also have two factors that are directly attributed with our partner employers as well as our deaf graduates. So first, the batch hiring was quite famous in the 3 megacities of our country. So because of this, it enticed many of our deaf graduates who are first living in those 3 megacities to go for these employers because they're doing batch hiring. They're hiring a group of deaf in one go. And we actually also had some deaf graduates who were living in far-off provinces who decided to stay within the 3 megacities in order to apply for these companies that were offering batch hiring. Now we'll look into something that's a little bit more, Okay. We'll look into another crucial factor that actually led to this change, which is our legislation and our support. So we actually have several mandates, several legislations that enforce PWD employment. And we also have mandates that enforce investments in the IT BPO company. And then we also have some mandates on infrastructure accessibility. But for this one, I'd actually like to focus on the PWD employment and government units. So earlier with our representative, Attorney Mary Grace, she actually talked about the RA 7277, the similar quota with other countries, where we have 1% that should be reserved for PWDs in government units. However, there's some barriers, not only environmental, attitudinal, but actually also in the legislative side. We actually have an executive order that requires civil service eligibility, which means they have to pass the civil service exam. But this poses a difficulty for our deaf graduates due to the inaccessibility of the assessment tool of our civil service exam. So because of this, there's very little number of PWDs who can actually work in government units. So that's something that we saw when we were actually doing the civil service exam trainings in the past, and as well as we saw the difficulties of our deaf graduates. And of course, in terms of the support services, these are the support that the School of Deaf Education Applied Studies was able to offer our deaf graduates. As mentioned by Jaila, we had trainings, career coaching sessions that were very tailor-fit for our deaf graduates. And this is actually a factor on why they are more equipped for IT BPO companies, because most of our trainings are actually focused on digital work. They're focused more on adaptability with new technology. Okay, so with all of those, I'd like to post my recommendations. So first of all, just to give everyone an idea, this particular research is very much limited to our deaf graduates. So we cannot yet speak for the whole deaf community of the Philippines. This can be something that we can look further on in the future. And the next, it is highly recommended, of course, that the government continue and double its investment in this sector. Because as you can see, despite the many laws we have for PWDs, implementation, as Sir Depeche mentioned, is one of the great barriers we are all facing. And I would also recommend that for private companies, that they should actually try to open their operations in far-off provinces, because as mentioned earlier, many of our deaf graduates living in far-off provinces had to move or stay somewhere in the 3 megacities in order to apply for those companies that were offering batch hiring. And of course, in order to enhance this and to ensure future collaborations on this, we should make sure that the collaboration between the academe and employment service providers also be focused on. And finally, knowing that our deaf graduates are quite adept with technology, they can actually use this opportunity, the pandemic, to further that skill. They can continue learning more about technology and adapting to it. And that is all for my presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, excellent time management. Thank you very much, Patricia. Yeah, Dr. Sokai, please make your comment.
Okay, thank you very much. Patricia, correct? Yeah, okay. This is like the first case that you are interested in the deaf disabled person too. So I'm wonder that in Philippines, the deaf person as the majority among the disabled or not? How many percent of the deaf
Oh, in
your country?
in Benilde. Oh,
Because,
I
because both of you did make the research on them.
the percentage of deaf
Yeah,
people in the whole
yeah,
country.
yeah.
For that one, I'm actually not quite sure on the percentage. It's quite big, of course, because we have several deaf in far-off provinces as well. However, our statistics are, I think, 20% as of the year 2022.
20% of them among the disabled person, right? 20% of them among all of the disabled.
Is deaf, yes.
Quite a lot, I think. Okay. I think the lesson learned from this case is that she also recommend at her last point that we must pay more attention on strengthening skill, new skill for the deaf person not to be only use the old method, but to catch up with the new technology and be capable of forcing themselves not only to be high by some specific other disabled person, but the deaf person must be also share the employment market as well. So I hope your two work would be applied maybe in Thailand as well. We can learn from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Sir, could you repeat the question?
You
Okay, so I think in this regard, what we really have to do in the Philippines right now is to update our statistics with who our deaf community is, where they are, because right now we're addressing only a certain population because this is what we know. That's why in my recommendation, due to the limit of this study, I really want to have a research that focuses more on the bigger scope of the country. So that is all. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Patricia. So the third presentation will be from Vietnam. Vietnam is the online presentation. Is she online? No, not yet. So we move on because we cannot waiting for someone who was not. Oh, she is already okay. So the next presentation will be the online presentation from Vietnam. Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Quỳnh Ngọc Hồng Nhung. I'm from Cần Thơ Association of People with Disability in Vietnam. Today, I will present my paper, The Difficulty of Vietnamese with Disability in Education During the COVID-19 pandemic. I will start with some general information about. Next slide, please. About Vietnam. Vietnam behind many policy regulating education for people with disability, such as the law on education, the law on people with disability in 2010, and many circular direct related to education for people with disability. In particular, the law on education mentioned that children with disability have access to all types of education. However, current Vietnam law does not have specific providing on the state obligation to ensure on inclusive education system in all level and lifelong learning writing program established by UNCRPD. Next slide, please. Vietnam identify inclusive education as a popular form to promote the right education.
Next slide, please.
In addition to development other types of special education to ensure everyone rights to education in disabilities. In this title, in this in this slide, you can see that the education level of people with disability in Vietnam. You can check that the percentage of people with disability 5 years and on the behind level of training received is 55%, while people without disability is 22%. And you can see here in this column, you can check the percentage of people with disability who attend the university and above 2%, compared with people with disability in higher 10%. Next slide, please. There are two problems. The first upon a limit education opportunity reason that Vietnamese with disability have difficulty in finding works. They are excluded from the public school system because of inaccessibility with classroom, white toilets, public sanitation, roads, and others. Moreover, most of people with disability live in the rural area, while the Center for Vocational Training for them is often established in the city, which is very far from their house. It means that their parents could not pick up them every day from vocational training to home. As a reason, few people with disability have education and vocational skill that would enable them to find works, especially for those who live in the rural area. The second problem is that disabled trainee have limit skill for working during inequality methods, modern resources, and budget subject. It's very hard to company to accept them because they less professional skill for the work in the modern development. Lastly, the refugee. Sorry. The lastly, refugee about disability and profit of employer. They are another barrier to full the integration of people with disability in our society. For example, if people without disability and people with disability apply from the same job, people with disability cannot be accepted because his or her disability. Next slide, please. The general objective of this study, we had two. The first, reveal the difficulty for people with disability in education in Vietnam during COVID-19 pandemic. And the second is to reveal the solution to education and job employment for people with disability in Vietnam. Next slide, please. Now we move on research question. I have two questions. The first, what participant means? The second is what prevent and support participant for people with disability to education in Vietnam during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the next slide, please. Let's look at this slide. According to the law on people with disability 2010, Vietnamese, we have the definition of disability. People with disability mean a person who is impaired in one or more body parts of support functional decline manifested in form of disability, which means causes develop for her or him difficulty for her or her and he in work, daily life, and study. Next slide, please. And look at this slide. You can see in Vietnam we had classified in the 6 types of disability, but the monetary about 55%, and the second is the hearing and speaking 13%, and the third is the mental 10%, visual as 8%, intellectual 7%, and other is 5%. Next slide, please. Now let me turn about the summary of research finding. We have 8 finding, but the time, so I will not I will not present this slide. Next slide, please. Okay. Yes, thank you. Now we will look at this slide regarding to education, the related economic benefit. It will be changed significantly after implementation of training project. Actually, this research based on the project. So when after project, and we had some the results, the finding, and that's the result we can this finding is very good and benefit for the people for training. So when after implement of training, so in terms of the creating employment opportunity, days of work, and income. And the next the research finding we can say with regarding to social benefit, it's had to change not able because of project intervention, attitude, knowledge, and skill for the client have been changed in positively. Next slide, please. And we also had see the main problem of the training face for financial constraint, problem in the main the time management for infrastructure and the lack of technology support. And in contrast, inadequate skill in handicraft skill, in sufficient capital invest to the set up the own business, and the marketing channel, and the new design, then low self-confidence at the point out by the training after the project. Also, we can have the still there are project of those who apply to utilize what they had to learn for earning at the higher income and social employment, especially for the improvement of social economic state of disabled women with disability and participant in the community life. Next slide, please.
Okay, could you please summarize?
Yeah, and actually, we have some about recommendation. The first is enhancing skill and diversification of design. The second is provide relief. The third is improve the vocational training for people with disability. And the last one is revision opportunity for people with disability on employment information technology. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Dr. Chok Chai, please comment on the paper from Vietnam.
Okay, thank you very much, presenter. Your country also facing with a serious problem of disability because I have discussed with Professor Chaturong that the proportion of the disabled person in Vietnam is quite high.
Yeah.
It is about 6 to 7%.
Yes, that's right.
The population usually maybe in Philippines 2%, Thai as well 1 to 2%.
Yeah.
But I hope the number will be decreased in the future. But how we could make stronger disabled person now. And the observation is that most of the disabled person in Vietnam would like to help themselves. They don't need so much to go to behind or to be employed by the firm. That is very interesting. So this approach make the disabled and the institution concerned try to bring their skill to be owner of the shop or to be self-help group in the future. So I would like to send my sincerity to cheer you to make your self-help group or business successful in the future, and you may work on the other paper to present in the workability conference next time.
Yes,
on the self group successful in comparison.
Yeah.
Okay, that is my observation, and but I am wondering as well that the government pay attention to the disabled person during the COVID pandemic too. That is good.
Yeah.
Opportunity then, but you did not say much about the association of the disabled people in Vietnam. What are they doing now?
Actually, we have now in Vietnam we have 63 provinces, but just 22 provinces have the association of people with disability. And also from the north of I'm Cần Thơ association people with disability in the north. And it is only in the Mekong Delta, and we yes. So actually we how to help the people with disability around us, around the provinces also, and we can connect together another association in the north and the south and the central of Vietnam. All of us how to the help the people the work the employment and the capacity building, and also some the program for the vocational training also. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. So I look at your paper at the recommendation for further research. You said that you will be you interested to have a further research on 3 topics. I would encourage you to do that research and
Right.
present your research finding in India next year. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I will.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you
thank you
for,
very much
yeah,
for
yeah.
your presentation from
Yeah.
Vietnam. So the next presentation will be from Thailand, but that will be online. The sustainable development for people with disabilities in disruptive world by Dr. Chachai. Okay, Dr. Chachai, please take your 10 minutes for your presentation.
Okay, could you hear me clearly? สวัสดีครับ panelists and also all participants. I'm from Central Group Chachai Noroset Thapon. First of all, I'd like to apologize that I cannot attend the on-site seminar at this time because I'm have something missions to do in Chiang Mai. Right now, I'm in Chiang Mai and doing the project about people with disability too. I'd like to share you. I'm sorry. Okay, give me a second because I'd like to share my slide, but my slide have the problem. Okay. Got it.
Yes.
Oh, please. I'm back, right?
Okay.
Okay, good. I'm going to not to present academic paper, but I'm like to sharing our working experience when we working with people with disabilities. Central Group have the major policy of doing with people with disability. First of all, I'd like to share you that we transform our working approach, our working concept from CSR. CSR is made corporate social responsibility. And we moved to CSV. In terms this, what we so called creating shared value. I'm going to explain you what creating shared value is mean that we Central Group are not going to give them in this case, I mean people with disabilities. When we do the social project, we like to share them. They need to action. They need to participate and also cooperate with us. Central Tham in Thai is mean do, act, not only say and not only think, but we need to do together. That is the concept of Central Tham under the policy of creating shared value. We like to support and create job opportunity and also support community to enhance the quality of life of the employee and also the society. Central Tham, we want everyone in our country to have a good quality of life, and also we need to do, not only just say. Our vision, we change from short-term to long-term project. We switch from quantity to quality, and also we change from our sales to order. That is our vision in terms of working with disability. The whole process of Central Group or Central Tham, when we working with people with disabilities, we starting from survey, and the second phase we going to selection. When we find out that each community with people with disability group or foundations, we need to evaluate that they are ready to do the job or cooperate with us or not. One of the major factors is the leadership of that group or that community. When we find out that they are ready to do the job seriously, we're going to select and approve and also train them. Train them in terms of skills, train them in terms of the knowledge, and train them how to utilize what they have and what we have together. If they like to do the product development, we're going to support them, we're going to train them and also teach them. After that, Central Group has a retail business channel. We have several retail channels. We're going to support them to do the distribution channel. And then the last step, after do that in our process, we're going to evaluate our project if they success or not. Right now, the Central Group do the sustainable development for people with disability is a disruptive where we have to approach to concepts. One we call the adaptive concept, the other we call proactive concept. Since we have a limited time, I just want to share you a small clip that we're going to have subtitled in English, but I'm going to speak in Thai. Okay, enjoy, and we'd like to summarize what we have done for people with disability.
กลุ่มเซ็นทรัลเราให้ความสำคัญอย่างยิ่งกับการจ้างงานผู้พิการเพื่อความมั่นคงตลอดจนการส่งเสริมอาชีพให้กับคนพิการอย่างยั่งยืนในเวลาเดียวกันด้วยดังกรอบแนวความคิดในการทำงานของพวกเราเนี่ยเราก็มี approach ที่เรียกว่าเป็น adaptive concept ในอีกด้านหนึ่งก็จะเป็น proactive concept ซึ่งทั้งสองคอนเซปต์นี้เนี่ยมีวัตถุประสงค์มีวิธีการที่มีความแตกต่างกันแต่เรามีเป้าหมายเดียวกันนั่นก็คือการจ้างงานที่มั่นคงและการส่งเสริมอาชีพที่ยั่งยืนอย่างแท้จริงในการจ้างงานที่เป็น adaptive concept เราก็มีการจ้างงานคนพิการตามมาตรา33ประมาณสัก400อัตราด้วยกันไม่ว่าจะเป็น contact center ของเรานะครับที่เราร่วมงานกับมูลนิธิพระมหาไทยที่จังหวัดชลบุรี contact center ของเรานี้ความเป็นยิ่งในเรื่องของการสร้างอาชีพที่มั่นคงให้กับเขาเพราะฉะนั้นในกลุ่มบุคลากรเหล่านี้เนี่ยในช่วงของสถานการณ์โควิดไม่ได้รับผลเลยเพราะเป็นการจ้างงานถาวรแท้จริงอีกตัวอย่างหนึ่งก็คือตามแนวคิด adaptive concept เรามีการจ้างงานให้กับกลุ่มของผู้นวดที่มีความพิการทางสายตาคนกลุ่มนี้เนี่ยเราก็พยายามที่จะ matching ทักษะที่เขามีอยู่ให้เข้ากับงานที่เป็นการสร้างความมั่นคงในอาชีพเพราะฉะนั้นคนกลุ่มนี้ถึงแม้ในช่วงสถานการณ์โควิดอาจจะได้รับผลกระทบบ้าง
ช่วงในวิกฤตโควิดก็คือเราก็ได้รับโอกาสจากทางเซ็นทรัลก็คือให้สมาชิกผู้พิการเนี่ยไม่ต้องไปปฏิบัติงานในแต่ละสาขาเพราะเนื่องจากทางเซ็นทรัลก็มีความเป็นห่วงมาถึงสมาชิกต้องการให้แต่ละคนเซฟตัวเองแล้วก็ดูแลตัวเองอยู่ที่บ้านนะคะก็เพื่อจะได้ไม่ต้องออกมาเดินทางแต่ในขณะเดียวกันเนี่ยคือเซ็นทรัลเนี่ยก็ยังจ่ายเงินเดือนให้กับสมาชิกในองค์กรของเราเนี่ยตามปกติ
สถานการณ์ของโควิดพวกเขาอาจจะได้รับผลกระทบบ้างแต่ก็เป็นผลกระทบที่ได้รับการดูแลด้วยความมั่นคงทำให้ผลกระทบเหล่านั้นเนี่ยไม่ส่งผลอะไรมากมายอันนั้นคือการจ้างงานที่มั่นคงตามแนวคิดของเราก็คือ adaptive concept อีกแนวคิดหนึ่งก็คือ proactive concept ซึ่งเรามุ่งเน้นไปในเรื่องของการส่งเสริมอาชีพที่ยั่งยืน ตามกรอบกฎหมายในมาตรา35ก็คือการสานตะกร้าผู้พิการเหล่านี้เนี่ยมีความเข้มแข็งสามารถที่จะทำงานเป็นกลุ่มเป็นก้อนได้อย่างมีประสิทธิภาพทางกลุ่มเซ็นทรัลเราก็ส่งเสริมในเรื่องของช่องทางการตลาดไม่ว่าจะเป็นออนไลน์มาร์เก็ตหรือออฟไลน์มาร์เก็ตก็แล้วแต่ความสำเร็จของคนกลุ่มนี้เนี่ยเป็นตัวอย่างให้กับคนกลุ่มอื่นๆในการที่จะรวมตัวกันเพื่อให้เกิดความมั่นคงแล้วก็ความแข็งแกร่งในอาชีพการงานเพราะฉะนั้นเช่นเดียวกันครับในช่วงของสถานการณ์โควิดยอดขายนะครับไม่ว่าจะเป็นออนไลน์หรือออฟไลน์เนี่ยไม่ได้ลดน้อยลงเพราะฉะนั้นรายได้ของเขาเนี่ยก็จะเกิดความมั่นคงแล้วก็เป็นการขายที่ส่งเสริมแล้วก็ขายทั้งตลาดภายในแล้วก็ตลาดต่างประเทศอีกตัวอย่างหนึ่งการที่เราไปส่งเสริมอาชีพในเรื่องของการเลี้ยงไก่ไข่คนกลุ่มนี้เองเนี่ยไม่ว่าจะเป็นการรวมตัวเป็นกลุ่มหรือจะเป็นอิสระเดี่ยวเองก็แล้วแต่ในช่วงของสถานการณ์โควิดยืนยันได้ว่าเขายังมีรายได้ที่สม่ำเสมอมีรายได้รายวันจากการขายไข่ไก่อยู่ตลอดเวลาหรือโครงการอื่นๆที่เราทำไว้มากมายด้วยกันไม่ว่าจะเป็นการเพาะเห็ดนางฟ้าการซ่อมรถวีลแชร์ตลอดจนการทอผ้าซาอุริที่บ้านสมานใจหรืออย่างโครงการที่เราพยายามที่จะพัฒนาทักษะด้านการบริการแล้วก็ด้านการโรงแรมให้กับน้องๆกลุ่มผู้พิการให้มีความสอดคล้องกับความต้องการของตลาดแรงงานตัวอย่างเช่นการที่กลุ่มเซ็นทรัลเราแล้วก็กลุ่มเซ็นทาร่าซึ่งเป็นกลุ่มโรงแรมของเราได้ร่วมมือกับวิทยาลัยราชสุดามหาวิทยาลัยมหิดลโดยนำน้องๆผู้พิการเข้ามาฝึกแล้วก็เรียนรู้ในการประกอบอาชีพด้านการโรงแรมและก็ด้านการบริการแนวคิดของเราไม่ว่าจะเป็น adaptive concept หรือจะเป็น proactive concept ก็แล้วแต่เนี่ยเป็นสิ่งที่ยืนยันว่าเป้าหมายของเราในการจ้างงานที่มั่นคงแล้วก็การส่งเสริมอาชีพที่ยั่งยืนเราสามารถทำได้และผมเชื่อว่ากลุ่มคนพิการไม่ว่าจะเป็นกลุ่มไหนก็แล้วแต่สามารถที่จะทำภายใต้แนวคิดทั้งสองแนวคิดนี้แล้วก็จะเป็นประโยชน์กับตัวเขาเองแล้วก็เป็นประโยชน์กับชุมชนเพื่อให้เกิดความเข้มแข็งเพื่อให้เกิดอาชีพที่มั่นคงแล้วก็การสร้างงานที่ยั่งยืนในชุมชนของเขากลุ่มเซ็นทรัลเราให้ความสำคัญอย่างยิ่ง
ฮัลโหล
ครับผมยังอยู่ครับเดี๋ยวผมขอไปสไลด์ต่อไปนิดนึงเพื่อเป็นการสรุปผมยังพอมีเวลาใช่ไหมครับอย่างที่โอเคI just want to summarize that working with people with disabilities in terms of the law under the section of 33 we hire full-time employed people with disabilities about 372 people at the moment. Normally, we have the average of 400 people that working with the central group is a permanent jobs. And also we support PWD by creating jobs for people with disability by doing the project. Like I said, is in terms of groups or individual. At the moment, we support them around 260 people. And also, we also service with eyesight disabled massage is around 100 people. This project is very, very successful because of our employees, which we have around 60,000 people in Central Group very appreciate with this project. They're going to around the country, around the Bangkok to massage our employees. This is also the sample of Good store. The product of people with disability could come to this store and they can sell through the both online and offline project. Others, we also support in terms of health and well-being. This is an example of the project that we do in order to make sure that people with disability have a well-being life too. If you are more interested in our project, you can go to our QR code, scan our QR code, and enjoy and learning what we have done. And you can comment and recommend us what we should do also.
Okay.
That's for me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chachai. So I'm very appreciated the Center Group for helping people with disabilities. I think the more important is the Center Group try to do their own job, CSR, corporate social responsibilities under the sufficiency economy philosophy, which is very important. This is our King Lama 9 philosophy, which is very important for making people happy and sustainability in their career, in their occupations. Thank you very much. I very appreciated. So next, may I ask Dr. Chokchai to make a few comments for the Center Group.
Thank you อาจารย์จตุรงค์สวัสดีครับอาจารย์ดร.ชาติชาย greeting you but we have never know together but I know that you are very famous and very important person of the Central Group for maybe 50 years ago. I hope you have more successful work in the future for the disabled people and to be the great model for the great company in Thailand. Central Group, I think, may be listed as 10 among the best company in Thailand. Exactly or not?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Ajahn.
Because of your experience, you have a special paper than the others that you pay very much attention on the concept. I think you have a good theoretical background to classify the work, the project within your control. You have exactly self-sufficiency philosophy, and then you have also at least 3 concepts. You have adaptive concept, you have proactive concept, you have as well the changing of corporate social responsibility to creating shared value among the stakeholders. That is very important concepts that you are using. And I think how could we learn from Central Group to be encouraged the other companies, especially the large company in Thailand and as well as in ASEAN country, because now I think the concept of social economy is very famous in the world, and social economy is not only the economy for the low group of the people, low class group of the people in the country, but it can be done by the upper class of the people in the country. Someone would like stop my speech. Hello. Okay. That is, I would like maybe ask our participant here to visit Central groups some days in the future.
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome. Anytime.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you ครับขอบ
Okay,
คุณ
thank
ครับ
you very much for presentation from the Central Group. Someone want to give a big hand? You can do so. Thank you, thank you. So I'm looking at my watch. Only 30 minutes from now to be presented. Only, but we have three paper to be presented. So 2 papers on the stage and 1 paper from online. So next paper will be presented by Mrs. Patharipan Pongwat. The topic is business development, a tool for developing the quality visible sustainabilities. So you can spend your only 10 minutes. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I will show you the presentation on the case study of the enterprise of disability group in Thailand. That one of the group is doing under support from the X section 45. Okay, โชว์ได้เลยค่ะ
ตอนแรกนี่จะใช้ทำเองต่างคนต่างทำที่บ้านต่างคนต่างทำไปแล้วต่อไปจะทำอะไรอีกเขาว่าอย่ารัวกลุ่มจะรัวกลุ่มเสร็จแล้วจะมาทำโรสีเสร็จแล้วจะได้เป็นโครงการที่มันยั่งยืนค่ะสมมุติว่าถ้าคนพิการมาไม่ได้ผู้ดูแลสามารถมาทำแทนได้
พอมาได้เข้าร่วมโครงการตรงนี้ก็รู้สึกว่าดีขึ้นมีงานทำมีรายได้เข้ามาค่ะ
เยี่ยมเลยพูดเลยเยี่ยมเลย
แป๊บนึงนะคะเพราะว่าซับไตเติลมันไม่โชว์ค่ะมีซับไตเติลภาษาอังกฤษอยู่ด้วยค่ะ
ทำเองต่างคนต่างทำที่บ้านต่างคนต่างทำไปแล้วต่อไปจะทำอะไรอีกเขาว่าอย่ารัวกลุ่มจะ รัวกลุ่มเสร็จแล้วจะมาทำโรสีเสร็จแล้วจะได้เป็นโครงการที่มันยั่งยืนค่ะสมมุติว่าถ้าคนพิการมาไม่ได้ผู้ดูแลสามารถมาทำแทนได้
พอมาได้เข้าร่วมโครงการตรงนี้ก็รู้สึกว่าดีขึ้นมีงานทำมีรายได้เข้ามาค่ะ
เยี่ยมเลยพูดเลยว่าเยี่ยมเลย
ก็คิดว่าตั้งแต่ที่การมาช่วงแรกๆก็ท้อเหมือนกันเนาะแต่หลังจากมีคนสนับสนุนหรือว่าคนผลักดันแล้วก็ใจก็สู้ขึ้นมาแล้วก็สามารถดำรงชีวิตด้วยตัวเองได้ไงบางคนก็เลี้ยงครอบครัวตัวเองก็ได้ด้วยไงครับก็ดีใจครับแล้วเราเนี่ยดูแล้วมีความสามารถครับไม่ดูถูกตัวเองครับ
ในอำเภอแม่เสรียงเนี่ยเนาะวัตถุดิบกระเทียมนะคะกระเทียมกับมีอยู่แล้วค่ะหอมแดงนี้ก็ต้องซื้อแล้วก็พริกกระเหรี่ยงก็มีค่ะเราโดยที่เราไม่ต้องไปซื้อที่อื่นนะคะเราซื้อจากอำเภอแม่เสรียงแล้วก็อุดหนุนสมาชิกบางคนเขาก็ทำปลูกเองนะคะแล้วก็มาจำหน่ายให้ชมรมค่ะแล้วชมรมก็สนับสนุนนะคะ
รวมกลุ่มกันเพื่อว่าให้เขามีเพื่อนกล้าออกสังคมแล้วก็ให้เขารู้ว่าเขามีศักยภาพแค่ไหนค้นมันให้เจอเมื่อเรารวมกลุ่มกันเป็นรูปธรรมแข็งแกร่งแล้วมีเขาเรียกอะไรผลิตภัณฑ์ผลิตผลออกมาคนเห็นคนก็ต้องประทับใจแล้วก็อยากซื้อมันขายได้มันทำขายเราก็ทำขายสู้ตลาดได้เราก็เลยทำกันแล้วอีกอย่างหนึ่งที่สำคัญที่สุดเราก็แต่ก่อนเราไม่มีเงินทุนใช่ไหมคะเราไม่มีเงินที่จะสามารถมาซื้อเครื่องมือหนักๆอย่างนี้ได้แต่พอดีเรามาเจอสถาบันพัฒนาธุรกิจชุมชนซึ่งเป็นตัวแมทชิ่งให้เกดรู้จักกับบริษัทนู่นบริษัทนี้ก็เลยได้มีเงินทุนมาทำจนได้ณปัจจุบันนี้ค่ะทั้งเครื่องมือแล้วก็อาคารค่ะ
กลุ่มโรงสีข้าวชุมชนดอยวาวีอำเภอแม่สวยจังหวัดเชียงรายกลุ่มน้ำดื่มศพเมยอำเภอศพเมยจังหวัดแม่ฮ่องสอนกลุ่มแคบหมูเมืองยวมอำเภอแม่เสรียงจังหวัดแม่ฮ่องสอนกลุ่มล้อไม้เฟอร์นิเจอร์อำเภออุบลรัตน์จังหวัดขอนแก่นกิจการเหล่านี้เป็นเพียงส่วนหนึ่งจากธุรกิจอีกหลากหลายธุรกิจทั่วภูมิภาคที่เกิดจากความพิการและคนพิการซึ่งเป็นธุรกิจเล็กๆภายใต้มาตรา 35 ที่เปิดโอกาสให้คนพิการมีงานทำในรูปแบบของการรวมกลุ่มกันเพื่อสร้างธุรกิจในชุมชนของตนเองโดยมีคู่ธุรกิจหรือสัญญาระหว่างสถานประกอบการหรือบริษัทกับคนพิการการส่งเสริมอาชีพคนพิการแบบกลุ่มดำเนินการโดยมีสถานประกอบการเป็นผู้สนับสนุนงบประมาณภายใต้พระราชบัญญัติการจ้างงานคนพิการมาตรา 35 นั้นสามารถสร้างความสำเร็จและความยั่งยืนผ่านกระบวนการพัฒนาที่เริ่มต้นจากการสำรวจความพร้อมของชุมชนและการวิเคราะห์ความเป็นไปได้ของอาชีพหรือธุรกิจโดยมีพี่เลี้ยงหรือที่ปรึกษาที่มีความเชี่ยวชาญคอยให้คำแนะนำจนกระทั่งการเก็บข้อมูลผลการดำเนินงานมาวิเคราะห์เพื่อนำมาวางแผนพัฒนาให้เกิดความยั่งยืนต่อไปการก่อตั้งกลุ่มอาชีพตามมาตรา 35 ทำให้คนพิการมีความมั่นคงทางเศรษฐกิจและยั่งยืนทางอาชีพเพราะได้เป็นเจ้าของธุรกิจหรือผู้ประกอบการจากการนำเงินที่ได้รับจากสถานประกอบการที่จ้างงานตามมาตรา 35 มาลงทุนร่วมกันซึ่งก่อให้เกิดความยั่งยืนทางอาชีพอย่างแท้จริงเพราะต่อให้ไม่ได้รับสิทธิ์ในการจ้างงานแล้วแต่ธุรกิจที่พวกเขาได้ร่วมกันก่อตั้งขึ้นมา จะยังอยู่ในพื้นที่ชุมชนของตนเองต่อไป ไม่เพียงเท่านั้นกลุ่มธุรกิจต่างๆเหล่านี้ยังเป็นแหล่งรายได้ให้คนในชุมชนอีกด้วย วันนี้การทำงานทำให้พวกเขาได้มีรอยยิ้มมีความภาคภูมิใจในตัวเองพื้นที่เล็กๆของกลุ่มอาชีพเหล่านี้จึงมีคุณค่ามากกว่าแค่เป็นพื้นที่ในการสร้างรายได้เป็นเงินตราแต่ยังเป็นพื้นที่แห่งการกอบกู้ศักดิ์ศรีความเป็นมนุษย์ของคนพิการให้กลับคืนมาทั้งยังช่วยแบ่งเบาทุกข์ร้อนของคนในครอบครัวคนในชุมชนได้ใช้เป็นที่พบปะระบายทุกข์ระบายสุขรวมไปถึงแลกเปลี่ยนข่าวสารความรู้ในการดูแลคนพิการซึ่งกันและกันนี่คือพื้นที่แห่งความหวังเป็นความหวังที่ไม่เคยมอดดับเพราะถูกเติมเต็มด้วยคุณค่าและศักดิ์ศรีของความเป็นมนุษย์
Thank you very much. I have some slide to show you. สไลด์ขึ้นหน้าจออย่างคะ Have a few minutes to present. Yeah, that is the group is okay. In Thailand we have 7 type of the disabled. Sorry. Yeah, if you see in the video, the project is in the rural area around Thailand. There are lack of opportunity to get the job or the benefit from the act and for disability. 5% of the disabled in Bangkok, 95 in the up city. Yeah, we work on this project around 7 years. We have the disabled to get the benefit from this project more than 1,300, and the money goes straight to the disabled in the rural area is more than 148 million baht. We have the work process to do with them. Is set up the group and make the project and present to the company to get the money support. And is not only money can get the success of them. We will work with them, go to consultant, coaching them, and help them solving the problem and work together with them in the community. And we get the information for learning from the project is how to solving the problem. Under the project, we have drinking water. It's a 5 drinking water group in Pak and Mae Hong Son. Furniture group is a 3 furniture group in Khon Kaen, Kanchanaburi, and a right new group. We have the agriculture mushroom group and melon in China and in Chonburi. That is a melon group and mushroom. We have 3 groups in Khon Kaen, Nan, and Nakhon Phanom. Some community shop. This is the shop in the village. Crispy pork in Mae Hong Son and Nan. It's and orthotic and motor. We have it's a 2 group to make the craft letter group and the Motsin, that is they make the chuka palm, the leaf from the chuka palm to make the peacock. Weaving and the tailor. We have 4 groups.
Yeah, this is I tell you, we have the information to learn is they get the profit or the loss. They will make the accounting and they will thinking about costing and pricing. Yeah, it's not only the money, it's, oh, did it free? You burn that money and not return. No, we check how much to this month you use the for the raw material, for the labor cost, for the management cost. At the same time, it's in that month you get the income how much. Yeah, this is the result of this project. Sorry, I don't see. The disabled is have the career and income. The disabled they can own the operate the business by themselves, teach them and coaching them. Yeah, and disabled is they are self-reliant. The physical of the disabled is improved because if they sleep on the bed, no, that is not good for them. They working, it's good for the health, the human development and working development, and it's the power of the people is working together because they are working the group. Inspire for the society. คุณเกษราพร she always she lecture for the นักศึกษาแพทย์ the doctor medical doctor student. She lecture to them is how to develop the disabled people. The telephone the television is interesting to present them. Is that it the opportunity to present the product, the market is come to them like a law my furniture. It's a recommendation is one is in Thailand have it 3 sections 33, 34 and 35. I think it's the 35 is act that is good for the disabled. Because it's 95% the disabled in the community, they cannot get the job in the factory in the big city, and it's some I think some people know they think it's the big money in the disabled fund that is the success. If the big amount money that is success, I think no, that is if the big money go to the fund, that means the disabled cannot get the job. The practice, this is practice when we present the product, when we are doing on the project to get the money support from the company, that if we will is about the document, it many document to do for get the permit from the government side. That is the problem to the disabled to get the job from the company.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. So next is Dr. Choksai. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, อาจารย์พัฒรีพันธ์ This is a great paper again in comparing to central group attempt. This group or this work go to the small people, and it is very challenging that this mechanism of, I should say, institution or the mechanism they are working to help the people to gather their own business, and they focus a lot on very small group. We can in the paper called micro enterprise, and in Thailand micro enterprise we count about 1 to 5 people in the company, in the firm. But sometimes internationally they count 1 to 10 people. But anyway, it is very small and limited. And this is the very good example that this do you call foundation or do you call a company? Association, okay. This association go to the rural area and trying to help the people, the disabled people in the rural area to set up their own business. So the people own the company, own the business by themselves. So they share the profit together and they invest together. That is why I would like to see your self-help group in Vietnam, if you are trying to do. And I would like to link with central group that central group maybe have some kind of support to the small group of people to live alive their activity. And the other idea that I would like to link with is that we should improve the cooperation among the people, the small group of people into cooperative, and the group that the worker own, the share together we call workers cooperative. So they have the kind of democratic atmosphere during their work, and they make the decision together. They can decision who will be the president, who will be the manager of our small company. And so I hope this association who serve the rural workers will be sustainable in the long term. And perhaps I will discuss with you later to learn from your work. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chokshai. I'm nervous because attend to 3 o'clock. So certainly we would a little bit late behind the schedule. We still have 2 papers to be presented. The next paper will be another dimensions, the impact of COVID-19 on the learning supports of students with special needs, that will be presented by 2 presenters, Assistant Professor Dr. Chanisa and Assistant Professor Dr. Virut from Chulalongkorn University. And so we also have 2 students from Chulalongkorn University in our conference room. If you have any information to be added, please do so. But you have only 10 minutes. Please be in time, only 10 minutes. So may I ask Assistant Professor Dr. Chanisa to present the paper?
Hi, my fellow scholar friends. Very nice to be here, and thank you so much for having us here. By the way, can I share my own slide, please?
Yes.
If you don't mind. Thank you very much. Okay. I will try my best to have to go through everything in 10 minutes, and that's the time that we have. So everybody can see my slide now. Can you?
Yes, we can see your slide.
Thank you very much. So we from the faculty members and students from Faculty of Education, Chulalongkorn University, and we have done research in the past years, including the impacts of COVID-19 on the learning supports of students with special needs in vocational education schools. And the project is actually under another project, a big project called Vocational Innovation Scholarship for students with special needs which is granted by the Thailand Equitable Education Fund. So what we have found is the for the introduction. We all know that teaching and learning has been disrupted, which is one of our theme, the big theme for this conference, I believe. The disruption is everywhere, and especially in classroom, in vocational education classroom in particular, where all the teaching and learning have been done through have been moved from on-site to online most of the time for a couple of years ago. So student engagement has been disrupted. Most students believe that the online learning creates some educational problems for them, such as the lack of expression. They have inadequacy of the lessons or times that they spend with the teacher, and the relationship in classroom in particular. So in Thailand, it's the same as everywhere, as the classroom everywhere. The transmission of the COVID-19 pandemic has a huge impact, as we know. So our objectives for the research has two main objectives. First, we analyze the impacts of COVID-19 on the learning supports of students with special needs in the vocational education schools. And the second one, we propose the guideline, the implementation guideline, in particular for the vocational education schools, so that they know how to handle all the barriers that happened during the pandemic, actually after the pandemic too. We have done the research in terms of qualitative research method. We did the semi-structures online interview, including the analyzing using the content analysis and thematic analysis, brainstorm in terms of our team, we are educator team, so we brainstorm how to implement or how to propose the implementation guidelines. And the participants here, we have 5 administrators from the vocational education schools, 10 teachers, and 62 students who gave us information. As you see here, we have type of students disability here. We have most of our students here have hearing impairments or deaf. The second group we have a physical disability, and the third group we have learning and intellectual disabilities. So 3 main students disabilities here that we collect data from. Okay, so mostly the interview have been done through Zoom program online. And we have data transcribed, checked, and reduced some unnecessary data. So our participants have working with us all through the project last year. And this is the results that we found in 2 main objectives that we have. The first objective, the result we found is that in 3 main disability categories, we found that the impacts of COVID-19 have been impact the students. Some share the same limitations here, and some share limitation here, and some have different limitations. The main one that we found impact of COVID-19 include insufficiency of learning resources, the need support from the parents during online study, and easily loss of concentration for all the students during online study. That's the chair problems that we found. Another main problem for each category, including for students with hearing impairments, we found that they have problem the lack of online sign language interpreters. They do not understand the content in subjects without interpreters, and seems like insufficiency of learning resources as well, and the problem with interaction between students and teachers, which is limited during the online teaching and learning. For the physical disabilities, we found that they do not have a single learning role when studying at home. They have to do something, a lot of things at home, like helping parents, be insufficiency of learning resources, and need parents to assist while studying. And the learning disabilities and intellectual disabilities, we found that this group of students easily lost concentration while learning. They have difficulty to understand, especially abstract concepts, and they cannot keep up with their friends and be insufficiency of learning resources as well. We also found that the students that we interview also carry some part-time jobs, although most of them have no part-time job, but some of them have part-time jobs like working at a restaurant, car wash, or IT support, or having a being customer assistant, or some students help their parents who are farmers. Other impacts that we found in terms of skills and practice, because they are learning in vocational education, we found that hearing impairment have difficulty in practicing some skills at home without any tools or any interpreters. And physical disability people need devices to aid when practicing some skills at home, as well as learning disabilities. So in terms of internship opportunities, they all lack of the internship opportunities because they have to learn all the subjects online. So some school need to drop the opportunity for a while until everything is settled down and go back to school again, or need to get some chance like watching videotape or have some discussion instead of going to the workplace. Money habits is another thing that we found. The limitation of learning habits happen when our lack of motivation for saving and planning. Some lack of motivation or saving and spend lavishly. And few students, like students with physical disabilities, have maintain bad money habits or lack motivation for saving, as well as student with learning disabilities too, who also have problem with the understand about value of money, the coin or banknote or concepts related to money. For the guidelines that we propose, the three main guidelines, including using universal design for learning, or UDL. This concept is very, very beneficial for teaching and learning for students with special needs, especially during online learning and COVID-19 pandemic. The preparation of guidelines for communication with students and their families, especially parents. This is very important too, especially to maintain the mental health of the students. And the preparation for students to be ready for all kinds of transition, moving from online to on-site, and as well as from on-site to online. This is important for them. So we propose the detailed type of barriers matching with ideas that teachers can use, as, for example, using guided notes practice, try to be more explicit and having direct instruction with the students. Emotional well-being is very important too. And also trying to adjust or communicate everything that the teacher and parents can do together, or parents can help the students at home. And finally, ideas is to build acceptance and offer several ways to communicate with the family as much as possible. And to be summarized, the recommendations for the future research, we want to propose that researchers may investigate impacts of COVID-19 pandemic on other areas such as living skills and working skills. And all the researchers may explore the other variables that affect learning skills of students with special needs, as well as the impacts of COVID-19 on learning skills in the long term and compare impacts each time. Okay, that's all we have to present. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Dr. Chokchai, please.
Okay, it is a good paper again that I think you are a lecturer for the students at Chulalongkorn University, and it is the first paper in our round of this time discussing about learning in the university, and we can also apply your ability or your attempt to improve the learning of students in the time of crisis. And you say about the family as well, that students demand support from family during their adaptation. And that is very important because usually family is not much say in many papers of us, but central group as well as the association of Ajahn Pattaripan also say about the family. That is another factor that we should encourage them to solve the problem of learning together. And I would like to request you for your future research that there are a number of college or university students that they drop out from their study, and who are they now, and if they could be called back to learn or come back to continue their study after the COVID crisis, it would be great to make them flexible because sometimes the university has the regulation that they have already end their periods of study, but flexibility during the COVID system has been in many cases. So I hope in the learning system too. Okay, I congratulate your paper, and I also having seen that your paper has improved a lot comparing to the first time I have read it. You have improved so great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Chokchai. Actually, time is over. But however, we still have one more. The last paper to be presented by the host of this conference, 1479 helpline, will be presented by Kun Samrit Chapilom, Ajahn Samrit Chapilom. So please give your presentation as short as possible.
Thank
Okay.
you, teacher.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. 1479 Helpline enhancement mechanism protect right to the employment of people with disability. My name is Sam Samrit Chapilom. Okay. Next. Okay, the first we have to walk through the way from Pattaya here to Nong Khai province, far away 1479 9 kilometers. Yeah. Okay, next. Objective and method. To study process to phone service as hotline for counseling, advice, and assistance with person with for employment, protect the rights and employment of people with disabilities, to provide policy recommendation and role model for empowering and protect people with disability to employment rights. Method. This study used to method of correct information for primary and secondary source from receiver, lecturer, and using in-depth interview and active observation with operator, executive, and service user of the 1479 helpline for person with disability between January 2013 and January this year. History of 1479 since 2013, the helpline provide 24 hours for free at Pattaya and DEP Bangkok. Under the goal to provide service person with disability for maximum profit, which is get a job, access rights for better rights. Based on the work principle, rely on promptness, respect, right, and fairness. The number 1479 means one is mean the Redemptorist Foundation for person with disability in Thai called Mahathai. 4, we have 4 education institute. 7, we have department, 7 department. 9, business unit for social enterprise. Next. Next. Next slide. Yeah. 5-step provides of 1479 helpline. The first, incoming service request. The second, data analysis. Third, provide fourth, sustainability and scale up. For the shortly, I will you can read in the full my academic paper in document. No? Okay, next. Next slide. Yeah. Okay. 5 steps to answer to call of 1479. We have 5 steps too. The firstly, we have answer call. The second, listening. Third, dialogue. Fourth, summary and hang up. This is the process for the helpline for coming call. Yeah. Next step. Next. Okay. We have a 4 method of quite line for detail process 1479. Let's say how to do it for person with disability who call us. A or 1, empowerment with dialogue. B, provide correct and up-to-date information. C, implement public support if needed. D, refer to service provides the next slide. Okay, for the statistic of helpline service since January 1st January 2013 for January this year. The normally is they want to get a job, but for the shorty, this is under COVID coming. The COVID coming is the welfare and civil rights is come up. Okay, next. Okay, For in the detail, for example, we talking about helping people with disability get vaccine against COVID-19. You know the picture you can show you. The firstly, we clear with the doctor from many cooperators. And also we have got vaccine, the first group of Thailand to get the vaccine. And also we call and request for some donor, some vaccine or some mask, things like that. Next. Okay. For occupational promotion center for person with disability, we have four institution. Let's say to keep them person with disability to have to get education, to get a job, to be sustainable. Next. Okay, and also we have to access for like the Mahathai, in front of Mahathai, we have the bridge. You see in the up picture before we have to do like that, but now easier. Next. Next slide. Some we have provided wheelchair to people with disability across the country. The picture we show you next. Okay, for empowering center of occupation promotion of person with disability in the community, we work closely like Udon province that in the morning that they show you already. Okay, next. We advocating for the availabilities for proposal for person with disability at policy level. We have provide at the local and central and government level. In the left-hand picture is from the parliament, and the last is for the in the meeting room. Okay. Okay. Next. Next. Okay. Let me show this Wichita to present.
Yes. For the concluding of the study, I would like to talk about for the discussion and the recommendation for the study. The first one is for our discussion for 1479 helpline will provide by people with disability and for people with disability between January 2013 and July 2022. Services were provided to around 77,000 people with disability. And 1479 Helpline is the first disabled group of Thailand to access to COVID-19 vaccines and provide and access almost 300 doses of COVID-19 vaccines. We continue collaboration with the government, private sector, and civil society. Although the first phase of the epidemic was very difficult, it allows services recipients to know how to prevent an infection. There are still challenges on the development of knowledge and skill to perform works, particularly for people with disability. Legal knowledge is essential. Next slide, please. For the threat of 1479 Helpline, despite Thailand has progress in law and policy on people with disability, the rapid development of advanced information technology has dramatically changed the social context and affected the independent living for people with disabilities. And lack of data integration and collaboration between agencies has affected the support for the development of the quality of life of people with disabilities at the practical level, and budget allocated is limited. It is necessary to integrate cooperation between organization and information among all sectors to have central information system. And also we keeping the philosophy of sufficiency economy into action in order to develop skill and expertise, continue to practice sustainable development. For this study, we have recommendation for the first one, promote public relation and push the 1479 helpline for people with disability is an important mechanism in occupation promotion service for people with disability protection by integrating them into all sectors with the participation of people with disability and leaders at the local level. The second one, support 1479 helpline for people with disability to organize group activity to inspire sustainable career paths at the grassroots level by continually working with all parties. The third one, develop system for 1479 helpline that can be easily accessed via mobile phone with a support system that could provide online donation, which is convenient for both the donor and recipient. And the last one, encourage the government to support the operation of 1479 helpline for people with disability, both in policy, formulation, and practice to improve the quality of life of people with disabilities, and to empower people with disability to be a contributor, create values of human dignity, making people with disability a key force in driving society and the community economy into the future. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you. Present the last paper. The line, the headline 1479. I have tried already yesterday. I visit a little bit a time and I test the service. That is good to know the picture there. But I have only one question that you have shown the four, I think we could say the four objectives of the service. The first one is to empower with dialogue. The second one is immediate basic support if need. The third one is provide correct and update information. And the fourth one is refer to service providers. But I did not get the information that you classify the result of your study. How many cases has been fit in these four categories? If you could fill in this information, I think it is very much interesting to use it in solving the problem more. In addition to your suggestion, that is very well already. Thank you very much.
Would you like to respond or not? No. Okay. Thank you very much. As time is very limited, it is very challenging to be managed the presentation to finish in time. I think it's very, very challenging. Yesterday we have more than 30 minutes being late, and today is the same. So I have to say sorry, and I think everyone in the state try our best, including the presenter online. I realize that everyone wants to present their own report, their research to be clear to the audience. But we have a very limited time. So, however, everyone try their best already. So, for the rest of the time, I would like to say sorry, and this is our lesson learned how to manage it in the future to be in time. This is, I think, very challenge. This is not easy. So last but not least, I would like to thank everyone on the stage and everyone in this conference room and everyone that watching the conference online. I think the best thing would be give a big hand to our presenter on the stage. And thank you very much for your attention. So I give back the microphone to our MC.
Thank you. Actually, we still have some time for question and answers. So if you have any questions or if you have any comments or if you would like to share with the panelists, so please do so. So we can entertain some questions if you have any.
สำหรับในช่วงนี้นะคะยังพอมีเวลาอยู่มีผู้ที่เข้าร่วมสัมมนามีท่านใดที่สนใจอยากที่จะสอบถามข้อมูลสำหรับผู้ร่วมอภิปรายในวันนี้บ้างไหมคะทั้งออนไลน์และออนไซต์อะค่ะมีไหมคะมียกมือขึ้นได้เลยนะคะ
Thank you. Wonderful presentations. Thank you so much. My question is to Jayala and Patricia. Hello. My question is to Jayala and Patricia about, you spoke very well about the deaf employment and hiring at Philippines. Just wanted to understand a little more about education of deaf in Philippines and how did you bridge the gap between the employees and the deaf at a workplace? Thank you.
Okay. So in terms of the educational system for the deaf in the Philippines, in the private sector, it's quite advanced, but we do still have some setbacks with regards to the use of what is the correct use of sign language. And then for the employees, we really in the National College of St. Benilde, we really focus on having an industry-heavy partnership. So the goal mostly for us is to have employment, not really, we're starting with having employment before we go towards self-employment. So that's how we kind of stitch the gap.
Yes, there is a gap when it comes to language and literacy. So when they get to college, honestly, it's quite difficult to teach them advanced English already or college level English because you have to acknowledge the gap when it comes to reading and writing skills for the deaf. But what we do is to focus on functional literacy. So our curriculum really is in line with industry standards. We make it a point to allow our faculty to visit our deaf graduates on site in the companies and to collaborate with the industry experts. We facilitate, our office is in charge of facilitating those collaborations. So from time to time, I think around once a year, they get to visit the graduates while at work and they get to talk to them. What are your pain points? How would you like to improve the curriculum and things like that? That really helps. And we also invite experts from the industry as faculty. So for instance, we'd have graduates who are excelling at work, whether it's work that requires heavy language use or if it's graphic arts work, as long as they're excelling at work, we invite them to teach for one semester or so, just so they can share their experiences and it's not just theoretical. And that is what really helps. We focus on functional literacy, meaning what will they really be able to use at work. and not so much on the theories anymore or on specifics, on the grammar specifics, which won't really be functional.
I would just want to add on that also to ensure that our deaf are employable in the long term, we actually always go back with our deaf alumni asking them, what training do you need? Or we actually talk to our partner companies. Are there any sort of skills that you would need before we give you our profiles? So when we find that, oh, we need more on financial analysis, we create or we get again experts who are deaf experts in that field, and we have them teach them for either one workshop or a long-term training to make sure that their employability will be long term.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, please.
Yeah, Deepesh here. More than a question, I have a suggestion about research, because this was wonderful research. I think so much inputs of all the research which is happening. I was just wondering, with the group of central group coming in as well, many times the research is very persons with disabilities perspective. What is impacting them? What is impacting our surrounding as well? Is there some research we can do? And I was wondering that inclusive organizations like Central Group and such groups, how they have actually survived any pandemic kind of situations. Their businesses have survived by being inclusive. And I am sure, because when companies are inclusive, one of the business cases, they are very good at adapting and inclusive. So is there some research we can probably do to say, can we look at such companies who have hired people with disabilities? How have they survived the pandemic? Is there an impact on business for them? So it's more of a suggestion.
Okay, I'll just quickly share. We actually have a partner in the Philippines. It's in the service industry, and the moment they started, the idea was to have deaf employees. So they didn't start with hearing employees and then hire deaf. They started with deaf employees, and I guess at a certain point before the pandemic, it really reached like a high attraction rate for a lot of people, but it actually also showed us on how unaware people are, because when they're trying to buy food, they're like clapping, they're trying to make noise, even though there's a sign that says, this is a deaf person or a deaf person is selling here. So I guess the research that we can actually focus on is more of the response of the community to having PWDs in a company or to having a PWD-led company. Thank you.
Okay, Lopa, ready? Yes, please.
Actually, there is one question from
I just
an
have
online
one question.
participant. There is this one question from the online
question.
participant.
This is for the team, like helpline they spoke about, like 1479. I just have a question on that. Wanted to know, like, what is the timeline that you took to set up this, like in terms of team or in terms of actually getting the information and setting up the center, right? Helpline. What was the timeline that you took internally? Do I need to repeat the question? How many days or months the pre-planning was done before you set up the thing on? In 2015 you started. 2013 you started helpline. So is it that 1 year before you planned it, or is it 6 months? Just want to know that.
Okay, for the case, one case when they call us 1479, not the same. Some is a little bit. For example, the wheelchair, I just finish, and we have follow up about maybe not more than 1 week, for example. But another one, not in the rise, like the power wheelchair, for example, like the power wheelchair, the same case. Okay, not in the right sum. We have to build a fund, let's say the fund, crowdfunding, okay, for help them, for example, and also for the get the job, someone who maybe to find out they have finished or they lack they do not want to go to another way, another province, for example. Okay. And also for the okay for the establish, first for the establish before you know the right person with this field is strong, right? CRPD, but for the exit service not happen everything. I would like to one-stop service at 1479. Okay, that is big purpose. Big purpose. Thank you. That you answer you?
Yes, sir. To some extent, maybe I can talk to you later. Thank you.
Okay, and there is one more question from not sure from the chat box or from an online participant. In that case, if you can turn on the microphone and speak.
Okay.
Hello? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you well, very well.
Okay, so in my professional experience, job coaching has been one of the most effective tools for helping people with disabilities, not just find jobs, but train and learn how to do the jobs independently, and also to support the employers to make sure the employer is happy with the work performance. And I believe some of the papers spoke on job development and job training. So my question is there a plan or goal in Thailand to implement the utilization of professional job coaches to support employment and long-term vocational success?
เป็นเรื่องของ job coach เขาถามถึงกรณีของประเทศไทยครับว่ามีการดำเนินการในเรื่องนี้ที่เป็นตัวอย่างบ้างไหมครับ
Okay, for in Thailand, for my experience, they have my organization also. We have the job post. For example, in the morning, they have the clean, right? Clean street and so ever. We have to the job post to do that, do this, for example. And also we have the hospitality. Maybe we have to watch the post and also do many things. We have to have the job post. That is for the special needs or special case for person with disability, not only for the physically. Physically is another way, not job post. Okay, do like this in the up to country. We have the association to do that. Okay.
I would like to add some information that the government office also has its system of registration for the disabled people to fill in the vacancy of the position by the companies that relate that working with the government office. It is responsible by the employment department. And now it is easier than before by using e-survey or maybe we could put in many channels with website and with line system and working with the disabled foundation and association.
Okay.
In the Philippines, in terms of career coaching, we provide job matching and career coaching for our deaf graduates as well as for students. So we help them plan their career even while they're still studying. And it's a team effort. It's not just one person, although we have an employment coordinator and a career coach in charge of doing that. It's a holistic effort from the school. We provide formation services. We have a leadership coordinator. So the approach is more holistic. We also make sure that they're exposed to arts and culture so that they develop that aspect of themselves as they are with us and until after they graduate. However, in terms of you were asking about specific support that career coaches get or receive, or what kind of training career coaches receive. Unfortunately, we do not have that yet in the Philippines, I suppose. So mostly practicing career counselors or career coaches majored in special education or probably majored in counseling or any similar field, but there is no program yet on PWD coaching or mentoring. Hopefully in the future we can work on that. Perhaps other countries can provide that and we can collaborate on such a program.
Sure.
And perhaps in the future we can create more research conventions or training sessions where we can send our career coaches and share our best practices. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I think it's time to complete the final session of the second day's conference. So thank you very much, Dr. Dr. Jadurom Bunjarat Sunthorn and all the panelists for your fruitful and useful discussions of today.
I have one more information to be conveyed to everyone. That is, after the conference, there will be a proceeding report. Now we have altogether 16 paper coming up. What I'm going to do is that I'm trying to synthesize our paper and come up with the editorial statement and which is composed of 16 paper. I try to do this. I try to finish this within maybe 1.5 months because I also have a lot of things to do on my own job. So I try my best to do this, and I think it could be maybe a document for reference in the future. And I'm sure that next year the Enable India will be the host organizations for the Workability Asia, and my paper would be maybe you can use it for your own futures. That is my last information that I want to convey to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
ซึ่งการสัมมนากิจกรรมที่เกิดขึ้น2 วันที่ผ่านมาก็จะเป็นการบรรยายนะคะเป็นการอภิปรายปาฐกถาพิเศษและการศึกษาดูงานการส่งเสริมอาชีพคนพิการมีการจัดระเบียบแผนข้อมูลนะคะเปรียบเทียบและวิเคราะห์ข้อมูลโดยผู้เชี่ยวชาญและนักวิชาการระดับนานาชาติมาตรฐานระดับสากลค่ะซึ่งสามารถนำไปประยุกต์แล้วก็ถ่ายทอดประสบการณ์ต่อองค์การภาครัฐภาคเอกชนและองค์กรคนพิการค่ะซึ่งก็ถือว่าเป็นเป้าหมายของการพัฒนาส่งเสริมคนพิการทุกประเภทด้วยค่ะ
So in the past 2 days of the conference, we have learned a lot from the different presentations, discussions, keynote speeches, and also the field study related to the promotion of employment of persons with disabilities. And we also have a number of international experts and academics who presented key data which reflected the current situation and also the future trend related to the employment, the employability and workability of persons with disabilities. And most importantly, we have learned valuable experiences and practices, which we hope that will be useful for your own application in the future.
ขณะนี้นะคะท่านประธานในพิธีนะคะท่านสราญพัฒน์อนุมัติราชกิจอธิบดีกรมส่งเสริมและพัฒนาคุณภาพชีวิตคนพิการได้เดินทางมาในพิธีแล้วนะคะขอเสียงปรบมือต้อนรับท่านด้วยนะคะ
Now, Ms. Saranpat Anumat Rashikit, Director General from the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, Ministry of Social Development and Human Security, has now arrived at the conference, and she will preside over the closing ceremony shortly.
ค่ะและลำดับต่อไปนะคะจะเป็นการสรุปและพิธีปิดการสัมมนาระหว่างประเทศค่ะขอเรียนเชิญนางสาวชนัตตาเรือนเย็น Workability Asia Secretary General ขึ้นบนเวทีเพื่อสรุปภาพรวมใน2 วันที่ผ่านมาค่ะ
And the next session will be the summary and the handover and the closing ceremony and of the international conference. So first, I would like to invite Ms. Chanatta Ruanyen, Workability Asia Secretary General, to summarize the conference in the past 2 days.
Okay.
And today we also have Mr. Buttisak Rom Kichakan, the Deputy Pattaya Mayor, to join us for the closing ceremony as well. So please give him a big round of applause.
Good afternoon. Mr. Lanpat Anumat Rachakit, the Director General of the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disability. Mr. Vutisak Ram Kichakan, the Deputy of Pattaya Mayor. Mr. Dipet Sutaria, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Enable India, and other honored guests and participants in both seminars at the conference meeting and online. I'm Chanatta Ruanyen. I am chair of the Secretary General of Workability Asia. I'm pleased to be here and deliver a speech. I deliver a closing address. I would like to say congratulations to all of these participants. May I inform you about the number of our participants? There are 380 participants, online 150, on-site 150, and online 230. Workability Asia Conference 2022 has been co-hosted with the Redemptorist Foundation for People with Disability Pattaya and in cooperation with the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disability, Pattaya City Administration, Business and Government Sector, and others. There are important part that we have made this a very successful conference. In the conference, we learn, we suggest to each other about job promotion and job creation for people with disability. We learn from some successful models as well. In the disruptive world of epidemics, technologies problems, disasters, global warming, wars, and international conflicts. Tech is leading to economic hardships. A lot of people are unemployed. We can overcome disruption if everyone cooperates. Yeah. The government and private sector incorporate to help underprivileged people with disability. Government gave them the compensation support and interest-free occupational loans and try to develop a process of upskill, reskills to improve the knowledge of people with disability. The private sector is doing the same. Upskills and reskills are very important to help people with disability. They will get a better life and implementing disability inclusion at work. This means employment and living by themselves is very important. Furthermore, I would like to thank you, the owners of the academic articles, who presented us their experience of work. In terms of career occupation and employment of people with disabilities. In various cases, in our workshop groups, we have begun bearing in mind for the base principle of CRPD to solve problems that the sharing us for many months and years, and we are aware we still have much work to do. I believe that with the indomitable spirit of people with disabilities and support from various sectors to enable people with disabilities to get a job and have a better quality of lives. Especially the example, the model from these seminars can be exchanged or share the idea to being beneficial to other people with disability in every part of the world. However, in closing, and as Father Sukhum, he advised us in his opening address, it's essential that we proceed as a team united in a common goal. As we return to our home country, we take with us fresh ideas for new beginnings with the objective of creating better lives with stable employment for people with disabilities, who we are proud to represent. I would like to say all at once, we hope to see you at Workability Asia Conference 2023 will be in South Asia. And finally, I would like to inform about Workability Asia's transition. The Secretariat Office will transfer from Thailand to India. And may I invite Mr. Dipesh Sutaria from Enable India and the new chairperson, and Ms. Niranjara, the new Secretary General, onto the stage. He is the new chairperson of Workability Asia, and Ms. Niranjara is the new Secretary General. Could you deliver the speech, Mr. Dipesh?
Thank you so much, Chanasa. Spoke so well. Yes. I think first, respected Director General of Empowerment of Persons with Disability, Deputy Mayor, Sir, Supartan, friend of mine. I think it's so humbling to take this responsibility to go further, to take it beyond this. But I just wanted to start with something which came to my mind. One thing which I want all of you to be part of is, can we give a hug to ourselves? Just hug ourselves first. All of us, if you can, wherever you're sitting, hug yourself. Yeah. Thank you so much. What do I mean by hug? H for humanity, right? And I think we saw this humanity in the future of the pandemic, the war happening. I think this is all about humanity, how human we are. And that is H of the hug of humanity. The U is for universality. And I think we talk about inclusion, all of us, universal. I think in this conference, we saw universality of inclusion of everyone, persons with disability, but including person without disability. Many times we look at one side inclusion. I think that is why we have to look at universality, which is everybody has to be included, including people with disabilities. So that is why the U for universality. And the G is, finally, G is for the gratitude. And I think the gratitude to Redemptorist Foundation for hosting this event. And I think such a wonderful thing. Gratitude to Workability Asia, Supartan, for your leadership, Chanasa, for your taking this lead here, for making this happen. And obviously my colleagues of Workability Asia directorships and the members of Workability Asia. Gratitude to the MCs. What a wonderful job you guys did. I think that was so. Gratitude to our sign language interpreters, both relentlessly, I think, working on getting included. I think gratitude for all the students. What lovely students trying to speak English, managing things, coming in the morning, early in the morning, picking us up at the airport at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. and all that. So I think such commitment and gratitude for making that happen, sitting there, trying to help us to say, what do you want? So thank you for that. Gratitude to all the volunteers also. A lot of volunteers, I think, coming across and helping, jumping in to help out, making things happen. And lastly, but not least, is my colleagues of NGOs. I think we saw so many non-profit organizations, even in this difficult times, working and helping persons with disability be included. And I think lastly, obviously, the government, I think, was supported this whole event. Without the government, I think we cannot really take this forward. And I accept this chairmanship, and moving forward, I hope that all of us work together. We can only facilitate, we can only make things better and build a better quality of life for our persons with disability. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepesh. Thank you. Globalization, disability inclusion, we will reach out the equality in one word. Yes. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. And would you please stay on stage for a while for the handover ceremony? So now I would like to invite Dr. Sakwan Pamunsawat, Secretary General of the Redemptorist Foundation for Persons with Disabilities, to come on the stage for the handover ceremony, and also maybe also invite Ms. Ranpat Anumat Rashikit, Director General, Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, to also witness the handover ceremony.
ค่ะลำดับต่อไปนะคะจะเป็นช่วงพิธีส่งมอบ Prosperity Asia ให้กับประเทศอินเดียนะคะและเรียนเชิญท่านสรัญพัฒน์อนุมาราชกิจนะคะที่บดีกรมส่งเสริมและพัฒนาคุณภาพชีวิตคนพิการเป็นสักขีพยานในการส่งมอบในครั้งนี้นะคะและขอเรียนเชิญดร.สุพรธรรมคุณสวัสดิ์ประธาน Prosperity Asia เป็นผู้มอบธงให้กับประเทศอินเดียเพื่อไปขับเคลื่อนงานนี้ต่อไปค่ะค่ะเรียนเชิญท่านวุฒิศักดิ์เริ่มกิจการนะคะเมืองพัทยาเป็นสักขีพยานในครั้งนี้ด้วยค่ะ ช่วงนี้จะถ่ายภาพหมู่กันนะคะ
And may we, Ajahn Dr. Supontham, to present the flag, the workability aid host country.
Mr. Supontham will hand over the Workability Asia mission to Enable India. Mr. Deepesh.
Oh, okay.
ค่ะขอเสียงปรบมือให้กับประเทศเอเชียและประเทศต่อไปด้วยนะคะกับเรียนเชิญท่านอธิบดียังคงอยู่บนเวทีนะคะเพื่อมอบโล่และใบประกาศสำหรับผู้ให้การสนับสนุนงานในครั้งนี้ค่ะ
And now I would like to invite Ms. Saranpat Anumat Rashid, Director General Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, to present a plaque of honor and certificates to organizations and people that have supported the conference. So we are going to call out the names on the list. So if you hear your name, please come onto the stage. And then after the reception, please proceed to the waiting area for group photos afterwards. So the first name on the list is
ค่ะสำหรับในงานที่ส่งบุคลากรสนับสนุนการจัดกิจกรรมทางวิชาการในครั้งนี้นะคะขอขอบคุณมหาวิทยาลัยหัวเฉียวขออภัยค่ะท่านแรกนะคะจากกระทรวงแรงงานค่ะมิสเตอร์ประภาสพรหมกัมพุทธค่ะ
So the first organization is the Ministry of Labor. So please come onto the stage.
ตัวแทนลำดับถัดไปนะคะตัวแทนจากเมืองพัทยาค่ะ รับมอบโล่นะคะ
representative from the city of Pattaya.
ขอเสียงปรบมือให้กับเมืองพัทยาด้วยนะคะเมืองพัทยานี่ก็ถือว่าเป็นเมืองที่สุดยังคงอยู่บนเวทีนะคะรบกวนจะคงยืนอยู่บนเวทีนี้ลำดับถัดไปค่ะ เป็นตัวแทนจากกลุ่มเซ็นทรัลนะคะขึ้นรับมอบโล่ค่ะ และมหาวิทยาลัยหัวเฉียวเฉลิมพระเกียรติค่ะ ลำดับถัดไปนะคะสำนักงานพัฒนาวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีแห่งชาติค่ะ รับมอบโล่และใบประกาศนะคะ ต่อไปค่ะมูลนิธิพระมหาไถ่เพื่อการพัฒนาคนพิการค่ะ
And next, Associate Professor Jadurong, Dr. Jadurong Bunjarat Sunthor.
และลำดับต่อไปนะคะจะเป็นการรับใบประกาศนะคะ ท่านแรกค่ะดร.โชคชัยสุทธเวชค่ะ ลำดับถัดไปค่ะ กรรมการศูนย์ศึกษาความพิการเชิงสังคมมหาไทยค่ะ
Next is Committee of Mahathai Disability Studies Center. And next, Ms. Vaishnavi NJ from Enable India. Next, Mrs. Rupa Reddy. Next, Mr. Anthony Helen Rush Silverrush. From Enable India. Next, Ms. Samara Thomas Tekken. And next, Ms. Yasri from Enable India. Next, Miss Jalia Marcela from the Philippines. And next, Miss Patricia Ellen from the Philippines.
ลำดับถัดไปนะคะผู้อำนวยการสถาบันพัฒนาธุรกิจชุมชนค่ะลำดับถัดไปนะคะประธานกรรมการศูนย์ศึกษาความพิการเชิงสังคมมหาไทยค่ะลำดับถัดไปนะคะกรรมการศูนย์ศึกษาความพิการเชิงสังคมมหาไทยค่ะลำดับถัดไปนะคะ CEO และผู้ร่วมก่อตั้งศูนย์ส่งเสริมอาชีพคนพิการในชุมชนอุดรธานีประเทศไทยค่ะ
And next, Mr. Dipesh Sutaria from India. And next, Dr. Oscar Charlo Reyes from the Philippines.
ลำดับถัดไปนะคะมิสพัฒดาสุวรรณนวลค่ะลำดับถัดไปนะคะคุณรัชนีกรพูดจินดาค่ะและคุณวัฒนัยอังดาค่ะ
Thank you very much. And we also have a token of appreciation to the Director General. So may we invite Dr. Supantam Mongkosawat on the stage to present a token of appreciation to the Director General.
การปัดมอบช่วงนี้นะคะเราจะถ่ายภาพหมู่ร่วมกันนะคะ
Now may we invite all of you to join the group photos together.
ไปแล้วครับผม โอเคครับโอเคครับ
ขอบพระคุณค่ะ
Thank you very much, everyone, for your kind cooperation. And now we will proceed to the closing ceremony.
ในช่วงนี้นะคะกราบเรียนท่านประธานนะคะท่านอธิบดีกรมส่งเสริมและพัฒนาคุณภาพชีวิตคนพิการกล่าวปิดการสัมมนา Workability Asia 2022 ค่ะ
And now I would like to invite Ms. Ranpat Anumat Rajagit, Director General, Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, Ministry of Social Development and Human Security, to deliver the closing speech for the Workability Asia 2022. Please.
Mr. วุฒิศักดิ์เริ่มกิจการ Deputy Mayor of พัทยา Dr. Dipesh, the Chairman and Managing Director in ABLE India, and Dr. สุพรธรรมมงคลสวัสดิ์ Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to deliver closing remarks on Workability Asia Conference 2022 under the topic Jobs and Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities in a Disruptive World Today. Over the past 20 years, Thailand has strengthened many effective laws and policies which allow people with disabilities to equitably access all the rights, welfare, and public services, as well as conform the rights of persons with disabilities to the national strategies and international laws. Therefore, Thailand ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, or CRPD, and has gradually developed better policy implementation for persons with disabilities. As the main agency supporting 2,116,751 people with disabilities, or approximately 3.2% of the people of Thailand, Department of Persons with Disabilities under the Ministry of Social Development and Human Security of Thailand attach great importance to protect the support the rights of persons with disabilities who have been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. Together with other vulnerable groups, during this global crisis, it is important that we increase awareness and knowledge which will help persons with disabilities maximize their potential, such as the skills of technology, digital, and preparedness for the current situation so that they can live their lives independently with stability and happiness. Moreover, the concept of person with disabilities development should be looking forward, but leaving no one behind, and incorporate the theme of VRD, which includes V stand for vulnerable guidance, providing assistance for persons with disabilities who are unable to take care of themselves, along with the collaboration of community and family. R stand for reform the person with disabilities legislation to support unregistered groups with health and public services, because disabled person ID cards are the initiative of providing health and welfare effectively. And last three, D is development system and ability of persons with disabilities to prepare them for any changing situation in the future. In organizing the Workability Asia Conference 2022, we would like to thank all relevant sectors for their strong cooperation, including public sector, private sector, disability organizations, and civil society sectors. As the Director General of the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, we are very glad to be a part of this seminar by academic article and experiences, including knowledge exchange in the promotion of occupation and work of persons with disability in the various crises from all speakers and participants. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities has been working intensively in preventing and caring for a person with disability to step through the situations. In addition to upskill and reskill to enable persons with disabilities to have a career and get a job, according to the government policy to leave no one behind. In case of occupation and employment promotion, products and services made by the group of persons with disability, which are being displayed in the exhibition, will not only serve as guidance, but also good practices for private enterprise and government agency to empower persons with disability. For these reasons, we believe that they can be extended to other disabilities groups, both in country and abroad, to promote sustainable careers and jobs. Eventually, on behalf of the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disability, I would like to thank everyone who contributed to the success of this seminar, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next year. Ladies and gentlemen, you have had a long day, so I thank you once again for your participation in the Workability Asia Conference 2022 and wish you a safe journey back home. Thank you and สวัสดีค่ะ
ขอบพระคุณท่านสรัญพัฒน์อนุมัติราชกิจนะคะอธิบดีกรมส่งเสริมและพัฒนาคุณภาพชีวิตคนพิการค่ะ
Thank you very much, Ms. Saranpat Anumat Rashid, for the closing speech. And once now, the Asia 2022 conference has come to an end. And once again, we would like to thank all the participants on site and also for active participation and contribution to the conference, the staff, the organizers, the translators, the sign language interpreters, and everyone involved to make this conference a reality. So thank you very much. And the two of us have completed our mission. So we'll see you all again in South India next year. Thank you. สวัสดีครับ
จบลงไปอย่างสวยงามนะคะสำหรับงานสัมมนา Workability Asia 2022 นะคะซึ่งกิจกรรมก็ยังไม่จบเพียงเท่านี้นะคะในเวลา 16 นาฬิกาเราจะมีพิธีเปิดตลาดของดีเมืองพัทยายังไงขอเรียนเชิญทุกท่านเยี่ยมชมตลาดและบูธสินค้าคนพิการด้วยนะคะและสำหรับวันนี้เราทั้งสองคนได้ทำหน้าที่พิธีกรจบลงแล้วกราบสวัสดีทุกท่านค่ะ